When a billionaire CEO showed up at a struggling single father's door at midnight in the middle of a blizzard, soaking wet and crying, nobody expected what came next. This is the story of Victoria Sinclair and Lucas Bennett, two broken people who accidentally found each other in the last place either of them expected. What started as a chance conversation at a winter gala turned into something that threatened everything Victoria had built and everything Lucas had sworn to protect. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The Grand Alder Hotel didn't just host events, it swallowed them whole. Tonight, the place glittered like something out of a fever dream. Massive crystal chandeliers throwing fractured light across marble floors, ice sculptures melting slowly beside champagne fountains, and enough designer suits and gowns to fund a small country. The annual Winter Gala wasn't subtle. It wasn't supposed to be. It was a display, a battlefield dressed up as a party, and Victoria Sinclair owned every inch of it. She stood near the center of the grand ballroom, champagne flute in hand, wearing a sleek black gown that probably cost more than most people's cars. Her dark hair was pulled back in a way that looked effortless, but had taken her stylist 45 minutes to perfect. Diamond earrings caught the light every time she turned her head, which she did often, scanning the room like a general surveying troops. At 30 years old, Victoria had built an empire. Sinclair Industries wasn't just successful, it was ruthless. Strategic acquisitions, hostile takeovers, partnerships that looked friendly on paper but bled competitors dry within months. She'd inherited the company from her father 6 years ago and tripled its value. Forbes called her a visionary. Her competitors called her worse. She smiled at the right moments, laughed at jokes she didn't find funny, and touched the arms of investors who thought they were charming. Every gesture was calculated, every word measured. This was business, even when it looked like pleasure. "Victoria, darling." A man in his 50s approached, red-faced from too much wine. "Gerald something. Investment banking. That merger with Hastings Tech. Absolutely brilliant. Ruthless, but brilliant." She tilted her head slightly, just enough to seem engaged. "Thank you, Gerald. Sometimes the market requires difficult decisions." "Difficult." He laughed too loud. "You gutted them." "I prefer restructured." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He leaned in closer, breath sour with Cabernet. "You know, I've always admired women who—" "Excuse me." Victoria stepped back smoothly, already scanning for an exit. "I need to check in with my assistant." She didn't wait for his response. Just turned and moved through the crowd like water finding cracks in stone. Graceful, inevitable, cold. Near the bar, a cluster of tech executives were arguing about cryptocurrency. By the windows, a state senator was laughing at something his aide whispered. In the corner, a fashion designer Victoria vaguely recognized was taking selfies with someone's very young wife. Everyone here wanted something. Money, connections, access, power. They smiled and clinked glasses and pretended this was about charity or community, but it wasn't. It was hunting. Victoria was good at hunting, but tonight, for reasons she couldn't quite name, she felt tired. Not physically. She'd trained herself years ago to function on 4 hours of sleep and black coffee. This was different, a heaviness that sat somewhere behind her ribs, dull and persistent. She drained her champagne and set the glass on a passing tray. That's when she saw him. He didn't fit. That was the first thing Victoria noticed. Not his clothes, though the charcoal suit he wore was clearly off the rack and slightly too big in the shoulders. Not his posture, though he stood like someone uncomfortable in formal spaces. It was something else, an absence. Everyone else in this room radiated hunger. This man looked like he wanted to leave. He was standing near the exit, hands in his pockets, eyes on his phone. Tall, maybe 6'1", with dark blonde hair that needed a trim and the kind of build that came from actual work, not gym memberships. Early 30s, she guessed. Handsome in an unremarkable way. The kind of face you'd forget unless you were paying attention. Victoria was always paying attention. She watched as he lifted the phone to his ear, turning slightly away from the noise of the party. His expression softened immediately, a smile that looked real, not practiced. "Hey, Jelly Bean." His voice was low, warm. I know. I said 8:30, but the thing ran late." A pause. He laughed quietly. Yes, I promise. First thing tomorrow, we'll build the biggest snowman on the entire block. Victoria took a step closer without thinking about it. She told herself it was curiosity, professional interest. This man was clearly not an investor or executive. Who had brought him? Emma, listen. His tone shifted, gentle but firm. I need you to brush your teeth and get in bed, okay? Mrs. Chen is going to check on you in 10 minutes. Another pause. His smile widened. Love you too, Jellybean. Sweet dreams. He lowered the phone, and for just a moment, his whole body seemed to exhale. The smile faded into something quieter. Sadness, maybe. Or just exhaustion. Then his eyes met Victoria's. She should have looked away. That would have been the normal thing. Instead, she held his gaze for a beat too long, caught in something she didn't have a name for. He nodded slightly, polite but distant, and turned back toward the exit. Victoria watched him go. Around her, the party continued. Laughter, music, the clink of expensive glassware. But for some reason, she couldn't stop thinking about the way his voice had changed when he talked to his daughter, like he'd stepped out of this glittering nightmare and into something real. Idich. 20 minutes later, Victoria needed air. The balcony overlooked the city. Downtown lights stretching toward the horizon, streets dusted white with fresh snow. It was freezing, but she didn't care. She'd left her coat inside deliberately. The cold felt like punishment, and punishment felt like clarity. She gripped the iron railing and closed her eyes. Inside, someone was giving a speech about philanthropy. She'd written a check earlier for $50,000 to some children's hospital foundation. Tax deductible. Good press. The director had gushed about her generosity, and Victoria had smiled and said all the right things. She didn't remember any of their names. Pretty cold out here without a jacket. Victoria's eyes snapped open. Go up. The man from earlier stood a few feet away, hands still in his pockets. He'd stepped outside so quietly she hadn't heard him. I'm fine, she said automatically. He nodded, not pushing it. Just making sure you're not, freezing to death at your own event. It's not my event. Her tone came out sharper than she intended. I'm just a donor. Right. He looked out at the city. Still, seems like you're kind of the center of attention in there. Victoria studied him more carefully now. Up close, she could see faint lines around his eyes. Smile lines, worry lines, she couldn't tell which. His suit was definitely too big. The tie was crooked. You don't want to be here, she said. He laughed, surprised. That obvious? You've been checking your watch every 5 minutes and standing as close to the exit as possible without actually leaving. Guilty. He pulled one hand out of his pocket, extending it. Lucas Bennett. She hesitated, then shook it. His palm was warm, rough with calluses. Victoria Sinclair. Yeah, I know. He smiled slightly. Kind of hard to miss. You're on like 3 different banners inside. Donor recognition. She pulled her hand back. Part of the package. Sounds fun. It's not. The bluntness surprised them both. Victoria felt something crack open in her chest, small and dangerous. She didn't talk like this. Not to strangers. Not to anyone. Lucas tilted his head, considering her. So why come? Obligation. That's a terrible reason to do anything. Maybe. She crossed her arms against the cold. Why are you here? My boss got invited. He couldn't make it, had some family emergency. Asked if I wanted the ticket. Lucas shrugged. Free food, open bar? Figured why not? You don't seem like you're enjoying the free food or open bar. I'm not. He looked back through the glass doors at the party. Honestly, I'd rather be home building Lego castles with my kid. Victoria felt that strange pull again. The one you were talking to on the phone. Emma, yeah. His expression softened immediately. She's 8, smart as hell, too smart sometimes. Keeps me honest. You're a single father. It wasn't a question. Lucas didn't seem offended. 4 years now. He said it simply, without self-pity. Her mom died when she was 4, cancer. I'm sorry. Thanks. He looked at her directly. Most people say that and don't mean it. You sound like you actually do. Victoria didn't know how to respond to that. She turned back toward the city, watching snowflakes drift past the streetlights below. They stood in silence for a while. It should have been awkward. Somehow, it wasn't. Can I ask you something? Lucas said finally. Go ahead. Do you actually like any of this? He gestured vaguely at the hotel behind them. The galas, the attention, the whole billionaire thing? Victoria almost laughed. That's a complicated question. Is it? Yes. Okay. He waited. She surprised herself by answering. I'm good at it. Building companies, making deals, reading people. It's what I was raised to do. My father built Sinclair Industries from nothing, and when he handed it to me, I made it bigger, better, more profitable. That's not what I asked. Victoria looked at him sharply. Excuse me? I asked if you like it. You just told me you're good at it. Lucas met her gaze steadily. Those aren't the same thing. For a moment, Victoria felt something dangerous rise in her throat. Anger, maybe. Or something worse. Honesty. No, she said quietly. I don't like it. The admission hung in the freezing air between them. Lucas nodded slowly. Then why do it? Because I don't know how to do anything else. She hadn't meant to say that. The words came out before she could stop them, raw and unguarded. Victoria felt her face flush, though whether from cold or embarrassment, she couldn't tell. Lucas didn't look shocked or pitying. He just nodded again, like she'd said something that made perfect sense. I get that, he said. After Sarah died, my wife, I kept going to work every day like nothing happened. Just showed up, fixed furnaces, came home, didn't know what else to do. Took me almost a year to realize I was just going through motions. What changed? Emma. He smiled slightly. One night she asked me why I looked sad all the time, and I didn't have a good answer, so I figured I better find one. Did you? Sort of. He shrugged. I'm still figuring it out, but at least now I'm trying. Victoria felt something shift in her chest. She couldn't remember the last time someone had talked to her like this. Not as Victoria Sinclair, CEO, not as a business opportunity or a trophy or a threat, just as a person. Your daughter sounds wise, she said. She's 8 going on 40. Lucas laughed. Last week she told me my tie didn't match my shirt and I needed to step up my game. Direct quote. She's not wrong. He looked down at his crooked tie. Yeah, I know. Victoria reached out without thinking. May I? Lucas went very still. Sure. She stepped closer and straightened his tie, fingers moving automatically through a motion she'd performed 100 times on business partners and nervous executives. But this felt different, more intimate somehow. She could smell his cologne, something cheap and woody that shouldn't have worked but did. Could feel the warmth radiating off him in the cold air. When she finished, she stepped back quickly. There. Thanks. His voice sounded slightly rough. They stood there, not quite looking at each other. Inside, someone was laughing too loud. Glass shattered. Applause rippled through the ballroom. I should probably go, Lucas said. Mrs. Chen charges extra after midnight. Your babysitter. Neighbor, actually. She's 73 and terrifying. Emma loves her. Victoria smiled despite herself. Sounds like a good setup. It works. He pulled his phone out, checked the time, then looked back at her. This is going to sound weird, but do you want to get coffee sometime? She blinked. What? Coffee or tea, if you're one of those people? He seemed genuinely uncertain now, less confident. I don't know. You seem like you could use someone to talk to who doesn't want something from you. You don't even know me. True, he smiled slightly. But I know you hate this party as much as I do. And you're standing out here freezing instead of inside where it's warm. That tells me something. Victoria felt her carefully constructed walls rattle. This was insane. She didn't have coffee with strangers. She didn't share personal details with heating technicians she'd met 15 minutes ago at a charity gala. She should say no, should smile politely and make an excuse and go back inside to the world that made sense. Okay, she heard herself say. Lucas looked surprised. Yeah? Yeah. Cool. He pulled out his phone again, fumbling slightly. Can I get your number? Victoria rattled it off automatically. Watched him type it in with cold, stiffened fingers. I'll text you, he said. So you have mine. Okay. He started to leave, then paused. Hey, Victoria? Yes? For what it's worth. He looked at her directly. I think you're probably a lot more interesting than you give yourself credit for." Before she could respond, he was gone. Victoria stood alone on the balcony, snow collecting in her hair, heart beating faster than it should. Her phone buzzed. Lucas Bennett. "This is Lucas, the guy with the bad tie. Just so you know, it's me." She stared at the message for a long moment. Then, very carefully, she typed back, "Victoria, noted." She didn't go back inside right away. Instead, she stayed on the balcony, watching the city and trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. Victoria Sinclair didn't do spontaneous. She didn't give her number to strangers. She didn't stand in the freezing cold having real conversations with men who wore off-rack suits and talked about their 8-year-old daughters. She planned everything, controlled everything. That's how she'd survived. But something about Lucas had slipped past her defenses so easily, it almost felt like cheating. When she finally went back inside, the party was winding down. The senator was drunk. The tech executives had moved on to arguing about AI. Gerald from investment banking was hitting on someone's assistant. Victoria's own assistant, Marcus, appeared at her elbow immediately. "There you are. The foundation director wants a photo for their website." "Fine. And Richard Hastings has been asking about the merger timeline." "Tell him Tuesday." "Will do." Marcus paused. "Are you okay? You look different." "I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. She felt unmoored, like someone had shifted the ground beneath her feet and she was still trying to find her balance. She posed for the photo, shook more hands, made more small talk, played her part perfectly. But the whole time she kept thinking about warm smiles and crooked ties, and a little girl named Emma who kept her father honest. Lucas didn't text her again that night. Victoria told herself she didn't care. It was one conversation, a moment of weakness. Tomorrow she'd wake up and everything would go back to normal. Except it didn't. She woke up at 5:30 like always, went through her morning routine, yoga, shower, coffee, emails. By 7, she was in her home office reviewing quarterly reports. At 8:15, her phone buzzed. Lucas. "Good morning. Any chance you're free for that coffee this week?" Victoria stared at the message. She had meetings all week. A conference call with Tokyo investors. Lunch with her lawyers about the Hastings merger. Dinner with board members who needed reassurance about her leadership. She didn't have time for coffee with a heating technician. "Victoria, Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. There's a cafe called Hartley's on 5th. She sent it before she could talk herself out of it." Lucas. "Perfect. See you then." Victoria set her phone down and tried to focus on the reports in front of her. She couldn't. Thursday came faster than she expected. Victoria changed outfits 3 times that morning, which was ridiculous. It was coffee, a casual conversation. It didn't matter what she wore. She settled on tailored black pants and a cream sweater. Simple, elegant, not trying too hard. Marcus noticed immediately. "You look nice. Do you have a meeting I don't know about?" "Personal appointment." "Should I be worried?" "No." She arrived at Hartley's at 2:55 p.m. The cafe was small, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. Nothing fancy. Wooden tables, mismatched chairs, the smell of coffee and cinnamon. Lucas was already there, sitting by the window in jeans and a flannel shirt. He stood when she walked in. "Hey." "Hi." They sat. A waitress appeared immediately, college-aged, friendly. "What can I get you?" "Black coffee," Victoria said. "Same," Lucas added. "And, do you have any of those lemon scones?" "Sure do." When the waitress left, Lucas smiled at Victoria. "I figured we should actually eat something, otherwise it's weird." "Is it?" "I don't know, maybe." He laughed. "I'm bad at this." "Bad at what?" "Whatever this is." He gestured between them. "I don't usually ask billionaires out for coffee." "I don't usually accept." So we're both improvising. Apparently. The coffee arrived. Lucas dumped 2 sugars into his and stirred absently. "So," he said, "how's the empire?" Victoria smiled despite herself. "Hostile." "Yeah?" "We're in the middle of a merger that's going badly. The other company's CEO is fighting us at every turn." "Sounds stressful." "It's business." "Still sounds stressful." She took a sip of coffee. It was better than she expected. "What about you? How's the furnace repair industry?" "Thriving." He grinned. Winter is basically our Super Bowl. Everybody's heater breaks at once, and we work 70-hour weeks trying to keep up. That sounds awful. It's not great for work-life balance. He sobered slightly. Emma's spending a lot of time with Mrs. Chen right now. I feel guilty about it. You're providing for her. I know, still feels shitty. Victoria found herself leaning forward slightly. Tell me about her. Lucas's whole face changed. Emma? Yes. She's... He paused, searching for words. She's the best thing I've ever done. Smart, funny, stubborn as hell. Looks exactly like her mom, which kills me sometimes, but also makes me happy. She wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up because she thinks all animals deserve love. That's sweet. Last week she cried for an hour because we drove past a dead squirrel on the road. He laughed, then made me turn around so we could bury it. Did you? Of course. She's 8. What am I going to say? No. Victoria felt something warm unfold in her chest. You're a good father. I'm trying to be. He looked at her directly. It's hard, doing it alone. Some days I have no idea what I'm doing. I just try not to screw up too badly. I think that's all any parent can do. Maybe. He hesitated. What about you? Do you want kids? The question hit harder than it should have. I don't know, Victoria said honestly. I've never really thought about it. My life isn't exactly set up for that. You could change it. It's not that simple. Isn't it? She bristled slightly. You don't understand what my life is like. You're right, I don't. Lucas held up his hands. Sorry, that was out of line. They sat in silence for a moment. I'm not trying to judge you, he said finally. I spent 4 years building a life I thought I was supposed to want. Good job, nice house, successful wife, and then Sarah got sick and everything fell apart, and I realized none of it mattered except the people I loved. Victoria felt her throat tighten. That must have been terrifying. It was. Still is sometimes. He picked at his scone. But it also made things clear, Now I know what matters. Everything else is just noise. I don't have that clarity. Maybe you don't need it yet. What do you mean? I mean, Lucas paused, thinking. Sometimes you don't figure out what matters until you lose something important. I hope you don't have to learn that way. Victoria looked out the window. Snow was starting to fall again, light flurries dancing past the glass. I'm tired, she said quietly. Of what? Everything. The admission came easier this time. The games, the expectations, the constant performance. I don't remember the last time I did something just because I wanted to. So do something. Like what? Lucas smiled. I don't know. What do you like? Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it. She genuinely didn't know how to answer. That's what I thought, he said gently. What about you? She deflected. What do you do for fun? Honestly? Not much. Mostly just hang out with Emma. We go to the park, watch movies, build stuff. She's teaching me to draw. He pulled out his phone, showed her a picture of a crayon drawing. That's supposed to be me. Apparently I have a very large head. Victoria laughed. Actually, laughed. She's talented. She is. He put the phone away. You should meet her sometime. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because... Victoria struggled for words. Because I don't do this. I don't meet people's children. I don't have casual coffee dates with single fathers. But you're here. I don't know why. Maybe that's okay. They looked at each other across the small table. Victoria felt something dangerous building in her chest. Something that felt like hope, which was worse than fear. I should go, she said abruptly. I have a call at 4. Right. Yeah. Lucas stood when she did. Thanks for coming. Thank you for the coffee. They stood awkwardly for a moment. Can I ask you something? Lucas said. Yes. Are you going to ghost me after this? The directness startled her. What? It's okay if you are. I just want to know. Victoria looked at him, really looked at him. Saw the honesty in his eyes, the slight vulnerability in the way he held himself. No, she said. I'm not going to ghost you. Good, he smiled. Because I really want to see you again. Why? Because you're interesting and real, and I think you need a friend. I have friends. Do you? She didn't answer. Lucas reached out and very gently touched her arm. Text me when you can, okay? Okay? She left before she could do something stupid like cry. Over the next 2 weeks, they texted almost every day. Small things at first. Lucas sending her a photo of Emma's latest drawing. Victoria complaining about board meetings. Questions about favorite foods, worst jobs, embarrassing childhood stories. It was easy. Too easy. Victoria found herself checking her phone during meetings, smiling at messages about burned dinners and failed science projects. Found herself sharing things she'd never told anyone, about the pressure from her father, the loneliness of being at the top, the fear that she'd spent her whole life becoming someone she didn't actually like. Lucas listened. Not with the careful political listening she got from business associates, really listened. Lucas: you know you don't have to be perfect, right? Victoria: that's literally my job. Lucas: your job is to run a company. Being perfect is just something you decided to add. Victoria: same thing. Lucas: not even close. She stared at that message for a long time. Thoughts. They met for coffee twice more. Then dinner at a small Italian place Lucas knew. Then a walk through the city park on a Sunday afternoon while Emma was at a friend's birthday party. It was during the walk that Victoria realized she was in trouble. So, Emma asked me about you yesterday, Lucas said, hands in his jacket pockets. What did she ask? If you were my girlfriend, Victoria's heart lurched. What did you say? I said no, that we're friends. He glanced at her. Was that the right answer? I don't know. Me neither. They walked in silence past frozen fountains and bare trees. I haven't dated anyone since Sarah, Lucas said quietly. Didn't want to, wasn't ready, figured I'd just focus on Emma and work, and that would be enough. What changed? You did. Victoria stopped walking. Lucas, I'm not asking you for anything, he said quickly. I just want you to know. You make me want to try again. That's not a small thing. She couldn't breathe. The world felt too big suddenly, too full of possibility. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? This, you, everything. She looked at him helplessly. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be someone's... I don't even know what we are. Lucas stepped closer. We're two people who like each other. That's all we need to figure out right now. That's not how my life works. Then maybe your life needs to work differently. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. You make it sound so simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Everything in my world is complicated. Then step out of your world for a while. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Just try. With me. She should say no. Should protect herself, protect him, protect this fragile thing before it could break. Instead, she kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't calculated. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, soft and tentative and terrifying. Lucas went very still for a heartbeat. Then his hands came up to cup her face, gentle and sure, and he kissed her back. The world fell away. There was only warmth and closeness and the feeling of being held like she mattered. When they pulled apart, Victoria was shaking. Okay, she breathed. Okay, what? Okay, I'll try. Lucas smiled, that real, unguarded smile that made her chest ache. Good. They stood in the middle of the frozen park, snow starting to fall around them, and Victoria realized with absolute certainty that she was falling in love with a man who fixed furnaces and made pancakes and loved his daughter more than anything in the world. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't trying to control it. She was just letting it happen. The kiss changed everything and nothing at the same time. Victoria still woke up at 5:30, still went through her morning routine with mechanical precision, still sat in boardrooms and made decisions that affected thousands of jobs and millions of dollars. But now there was this other thing running parallel to her life. Quiet mornings at Hartley's, late-night phone calls that stretched past midnight, text messages that made her smile during strategy meetings. Marcus noticed first, You're different, he said one morning, setting her coffee down with more force than necessary. I'm the same. You smiled at Gerald Henderson yesterday. You hate Gerald Henderson. I was being polite. You're never polite to Gerald Henderson. Marcus crossed his arms. What's going on? Victoria looked up from her laptop. Nothing that concerns you. Is it a man? Marcus. Oh my God, it's a man. He sat down uninvited. Who is he? Wait, is it Richard Hastings? Please tell me it's not Richard Hastings. It's not Richard Hastings. Then who? Victoria closed her laptop. Someone I met. Someone normal. Marcus blinked. Normal? He's not in business. Not an investor or CEO or anyone from our world. What does he do? He fixes furnaces. There was a long silence. You're dating a heating technician, Marcus said slowly. I'm seeing him. It's not official. Victoria. Marcus leaned forward. Do you have any idea how this looks? I don't care how it looks. You should. The board already thinks you're too young. The investors question every decision. If they find out you're involved with some random... His name is Lucas. Her voice came out sharp. And he's not random. Marcus held up his hands. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to protect you. I don't need protection. Everyone needs protection. He stood, smoothing his suit. Just be careful. Please. After he left, Victoria sat alone in her office and tried to convince herself Marcus was wrong. She failed. The truth was, she knew exactly how it looked, knew what people would say. The billionaire CEO slumming it with the working class. A quarter-life crisis, rebellion against her upbringing, proof she wasn't fit to run her father's company. She should end it. Should stop answering Lucas's texts, stop meeting him for coffee, stop letting herself imagine a life that didn't revolve around quarterly earnings and hostile takeovers. Her phone buzzed. Lucas. Emma wants to know if you like dinosaurs. Apparently this is very important. Victoria smiled despite everything. Victoria. I'm neutral on dinosaurs. Why? Lucas. She's doing a project on paleontology and wants to know if smart people like dinosaurs. You're her sample group. Victoria. Tell her I think they're fascinating. Lucas. She says you're officially cool now. High praise. Victoria stared at the messages for a long moment, then typed carefully. Victoria. Can I meet her? The response took longer this time. Lucas. Are you sure? No pressure. I know your life is complicated. Victoria. I'm sure. Lucas. Okay. Saturday? We usually do pancakes and cartoons. Very glamorous. Victoria. Perfect. She set her phone down and tried to ignore the panic rising in her chest. Saturday morning arrived cold and bright. Victoria changed outfits 4 times before settling on jeans and a simple sweater, clothes she almost never wore, pulled from the back of her closet. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. No makeup except mascara, hair in a ponytail. She looked young, uncertain, human. Lucas's apartment was in a neighborhood Victoria had never visited. Modest buildings with shared parking, kids' bikes chained to railings, windows covered with mismatched curtains. She parked her Mercedes 2 blocks away, suddenly self-conscious. His building was 3rd from the corner. She climbed to the 2nd floor, heart hammering, and knocked. Lucas opened the door wearing sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, hair sticking up on one side. He looked surprised, then pleased. Hey, you're early. Sorry, I can... No, come in. We're just making pancakes. The apartment was small but warm, lived in. Toys scattered across the living room floor, books stacked on every surface, crayon drawings taped to the walls. It smelled like coffee and vanilla. Emma, Lucas called. We have a visitor. A little girl appeared from the kitchen, spatula in hand. She had dark curly hair pulled into 2 ponytails, her father's blue eyes, and a suspicious expression. You're Victoria, she said. I am. Victoria suddenly had no idea what to do with her hands. You must be Emma. Dad says you run a big company. That's right. What kind of company? We make lots of different things. Technology, mostly. Equipment that helps other businesses run better. Emma considered this. Do you make toys? No, sorry. That's okay. Toys are probably hard. She turned to Lucas. Can she help with pancakes? Lucas looked at Victoria. Can you? I've never made pancakes before. Emma's eyes went wide. Never? Never. That's so sad. Emma grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the kitchen. Come on, I'll teach you. The kitchen was tiny. Barely room for 2 people, definitely not 3. But somehow, they made it work. Emma directing traffic like a tiny general, Lucas trying not to laugh as Victoria struggled with the batter consistency. No, you have to stir it gentle, Emma said, like you're petting a cat. I don't have a cat. Pretend. Victoria stirred more carefully. The batter looked lumpy and wrong, but Emma nodded approval. Good. Now, Dad will cook them because the stove is hot and we're not allowed. Smart rule, Victoria said. I made it. Emma climbed onto a stool. After Dad burned his hand last month being stupid. I wasn't stupid, Lucas protested. I was distracted. By what? Work stuff. Emma looked at Victoria. He thinks about work too much. You probably do too. Probably, Victoria admitted. Adults are weird. Emma swung her legs. Do you like cartoons? I don't watch many cartoons. Do you like anything fun? The question was so direct, so innocent, that Victoria actually had to think about it. I used to like painting, she said finally, when I was younger. What kind of painting? Landscapes mostly, watercolors. Why did you stop? I got busy. That's a bad reason. Emma tilted her head, studying her. You should paint again. Maybe I will. Lucas flipped a pancake, glancing over at them. Something soft crossed his face, something that made Victoria's chest tight. They ate at the small kitchen table, Emma chattering between bites about her dinosaur project and her best friend Sophie, and the mean girl in her class who said her sneakers were ugly. But I like my sneakers, Emma said firmly. They have stars. Then that's all that matters, Victoria said. That's what Dad says, too. Emma grinned. You guys think the same. After breakfast, Emma dragged them both to the living room for cartoons. Victoria sat on the worn couch, Emma squeezed between her and Lucas, and watched animated characters have adventures she didn't understand. But Emma laughed, and Lucas put his arm along the back of the couch, his fingers barely brushing Victoria's shoulder, and somehow it was perfect. Around 11, Emma disappeared into her room to work on her project. Lucas and Victoria stayed on the couch, closer now, not quite touching. She likes you, Lucas said quietly. How can you tell? She let you help with pancakes. That's her sacred ritual. He smiled. Also, she hasn't asked when you're leaving yet. That's a good sign. What does she usually ask? Within 10 minutes. She's very direct. I noticed. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, kids were playing in the parking lot, their shouts muffled through the walls. Can I ask you something? Victoria said. Sure. How do you do this? Balance everything. Work and Emma and just life. Lucas thought about it. Honestly, I don't. Not well, anyway. I'm constantly behind on laundry. We eat frozen pizza twice a week. Last month I forgot about parent-teacher conferences and had to reschedule twice. But you make it look easy. That's because you're seeing the good parts. He turned to face her. You don't see the nights I lie awake worrying about money, or the times I lose my temper because I'm exhausted, or the fact that Emma's birthday party last year was at a Chuck E. Cheese because I couldn't afford anywhere nicer. I bet she loved it. She did, but that's not the point. He rubbed his face. The point is, I'm not some perfect dad who has it all figured out. I'm just trying not to fuck up too badly. Victoria reached out and took his hand. You're doing better than you think. So are you. I'm not doing anything. I don't have a kid depending on me. No, but you're running a company, making decisions that affect thousands of people. That's not nothing. It doesn't feel important, not compared to this. Compared to what? She gestured around the small apartment. This. Real life. Pancakes and cartoons and homework projects. The stuff that actually matters. Lucas squeezed her hand. Your life matters too. Does it? Victoria, I'm serious. She pulled her hand back, suddenly agitated. What am I doing that actually helps anyone? I make rich people richer. I buy companies and strip them down and sell off the pieces. I'm good at it, but I'm not sure it means anything. You employ people. You create jobs. And destroy just as many. That's not fair, isn't it? She stood, pacing. The Hastings merger? We're cutting 40% of their workforce, almost 2,000 people losing their jobs. And I signed off on it because it made financial sense. Lucas watched her carefully. Do you regret it? I don't know. Maybe. I don't let myself think about it too much. She stopped pacing, facing him. But being here, seeing how you live, what you prioritize, it's making me think about it, and I don't like what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? Someone who chose power over people, someone who became exactly what my father wanted, instead of figuring out what I wanted. It's not too late to change. Yes, it is. She laughed, but it sounded broken. I'm 30 years old. I've spent my entire adult life building this career. I can't just walk away. Why not? Because it's all I have. The words hung in the air between them. Lucas stood slowly, crossing to her. That's not true, isn't it? Take away my company and what's left. I don't have friends. I don't have hobbies. I don't have anything real. You have me. Victoria looked at him, eyes burning. For how long? Until you realize I'm cold and calculating and completely wrong for you? Until Emma asks why her dad is dating someone who fires people for a living? Victoria, I should go. She moved toward the door. This was a mistake. Lucas caught her arm. Don't do that. Do what? Run away because you're scared. I'm not scared. Bullshit. He said it gently but firmly. You're terrified. And I get it. This is new and weird and doesn't fit into your carefully planned life. But that doesn't make it a mistake. You don't understand? Then help me understand. He didn't let go of her arm. Talk to me. Actually talk to me instead of building walls. Victoria felt something crack in her chest. I don't know how. Try. She closed her eyes, took a breath. I've never had this before, she said quietly. Something that felt real. Every relationship I've ever had was strategic. Men who wanted access to my money or my connections. I knew the rules, knew how to play the game. This isn't a game. I know. That's what scares me. She opened her eyes. I don't know how to be with someone who actually sees me, who wants me instead of what I can give them. It feels dangerous. Love is supposed to feel dangerous. Is that what this is? Lucas cupped her face with both hands. I don't know yet, but I want to find out. If you'll let me. Victoria felt tears spill over. What if I disappoint you? What if you don't? What if I hurt Emma? She's tougher than she looks, and she already cares about you. How can you know that? Because this morning she asked if you were going to be her new mom. Victoria's breath caught. What did you tell her? I told her it's too early to know, that we're taking things slow, but that I really like you, and I think she should give you a chance. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. Was that okay? I don't know. She laughed shakily. This is insane. We barely know each other. So let's get to know each other. No pressure, no timelines. Just see what happens. Victoria looked into his eyes, honest, open, completely unguarded. Everything she wasn't. Okay, she whispered. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she might break. Victoria kissed him back, letting herself fall into it, into him, into the terrifying possibility that maybe this could actually work. When they pulled apart, Emma was standing in the hallway, staring at them. Oh, Lucas said. Hey, Jellybean. Are you kissing? Emma asked. Yes. Gross, but she was smiling. Does this mean Victoria's your girlfriend now? Lucas looked at Victoria. Is it okay if I say yes? Victoria's heart hammered. This was real. This was happening. She was standing in a tiny apartment in clothes that didn't cost $1,000, being asked to be someone's girlfriend by a man who fixed furnaces and made pancakes. Yes, she said. It's okay. Emma considered this. Cool. Can we watch more cartoons now? Sure thing, Lucas laughed, relief obvious in his voice. Emma ran back to the living room. Lucas and Victoria followed, hand in hand. They spent the rest of the day doing nothing important, watched cartoons, helped Emma glue pictures of dinosaurs onto poster board, ordered pizza for dinner because Lucas didn't feel like cooking and Victoria definitely didn't know how. It was the most normal day of Victoria's life. And somehow, That made it extraordinary. When she finally left around 8, Emma hugged her goodbye, warm, quick and fierce, arms wrapped around Victoria's waist. "You're coming back, right?" Emma asked. "If your dad doesn't get sick of me." "He won't. He smiles weird when he talks about you." Lucas groaned. "Thanks, Emma. Very helpful." Victoria laughed. "I'll be back, I promise." Lucas walked her to her car. The neighborhood was quiet now. Most families settled in for the night. "Thank you for today," Victoria said. "Thank you for giving us a chance." "I'm still terrified." "Me too." He kissed her forehead. "But we'll figure it out." She drove home through empty streets, and for the first time in years, Victoria Sinclair felt like maybe she was heading towards something instead of running away. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Victoria would finish work and drive to Lucas's apartment. Sometimes Emma would still be awake, and they'd play board games or watch movies. Sometimes she'd already be in bed, and Lucas and Victoria would sit on the couch, talking until midnight about everything and nothing. Victoria learned that Lucas had wanted to be an architect before his wife got sick, that he still sketched buildings in notebooks he kept hidden in his closet, that he was afraid Emma would grow up and leave and he'd have nothing left. Lucas learned that Victoria had panic attacks in bathroom stalls during big presentations, that she hadn't spoken to her mother in 3 years because every conversation turned into criticism, that she sometimes drove past her childhood home at night and wondered who she would have become if she'd been allowed to choose. They learned each other slowly, carefully, like people defusing bombs, and somehow, against all logic, it worked. Until the night everything fell apart. Victoria was in a late meeting when her assistant knocked urgently. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have a call. It's about your father." Her father. She hadn't thought about Richard Sinclair in weeks. He'd retired 2 years ago, moved to his estate upstate, left her to run the company he'd built. They spoke maybe once a month, stiff conversations about stock prices and board politics. Victoria excused herself and took the call in her office. "Ms. Sinclair?" An unfamiliar voice. "This is Dr. Patterson from Mercy General. I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Your father was brought in an hour ago. He's had a massive stroke." The words didn't make sense at first. Her father was invincible, untouchable. He didn't get sick. "How bad is it?" "We're doing everything we can, but you should come now if you want to see him." Victoria grabbed her coat and ran. The hospital was 40 minutes away. She made it in 25, breaking every speed limit. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. She tried calling Lucas, but it went to voicemail. Her father was in the ICU. Machines everywhere, tubes running into his arms. He looked small in the hospital bed, which was wrong. Richard Sinclair was never small. He was also dying. The doctors said it gently, professionally, but the message was clear. Massive brain damage. Even if he survived, he'd never be himself again. Victoria sat beside his bed and felt nothing. That was the worst part. She should cry. Should feel something. Grief, fear, anger, anything. But there was just numbness spreading through her chest like frost. Her father had never been warm, never soft. He'd raised her like a business project. Optimize, improve, perfect. When she cried as a child, he'd told her emotions were weaknesses. When she'd wanted to study art, he'd enrolled her in business school. When she'd tried to date someone he didn't approve of, he'd simply had the man's company destroyed. She'd spent 30 years trying to earn his approval, and now he was dying, and she felt nothing. The stroke had happened during a board meeting for one of his old companies. Witnesses said he'd been arguing about a merger, getting red-faced and angry, when he suddenly collapsed, fighting until the end. That was Richard Sinclair. Victoria stayed at the hospital for hours, made phone calls, signed papers, handled logistics because that's what she did. She handled things. Around 2 in the morning, a nurse gently suggested she go home and get some rest. Victoria drove aimlessly instead. Found herself on the highway, then on smaller roads, then in Lucas's neighborhood. His apartment was dark. She sat in her car outside, phone in hand, trying to decide what to do. Before she could talk herself out of it, she dialed. Lucas answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Victoria? What's wrong?" "I'm outside." Her voice cracked. "Can I come up?" "Of course. Give me 1 second." The door opened before she reached the top of the stairs. Lucas stood there in sweatpants and nothing else, hair a mess, eyes worried. "What happened?" Victoria opened her mouth to explain and burst into tears instead. Lucas pulled her inside, shut the door, wrapped his arms around her. She sobbed into his bare chest, months of carefully controlled emotions spilling out all at once. "My father," she managed between gasps. "He's dying." "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I should feel sad. I should feel something." She pulled back, wiping her face. "But I just feel empty." Lucas guided her to the couch. "Tell me what happened." She did. All of it. The call, the hospital, the machines keeping her father alive, the way the doctors spoke in careful euphemisms, the papers she'd signed authorizing them to keep trying even though everyone knew it was pointless. "He's not dead yet," she said, "but he's not alive either. He's just gone." That's horrible. The worst part is I keep thinking about work, about the merger, about who needs to be called and what needs to be managed. She laughed bitterly. "Even now I'm being him, cold and calculating." "You're not cold, you're in shock." "Am I? Or is this just who I am?" Lucas took her hands. "Victoria, listen to me. You're allowed to feel however you feel. If you're not sad right now, that's okay. Your relationship with your father was complicated." "I hated him," she whispered. "Is that awful?" "No. He was a terrible father, controlling and manipulative and cold, but he also built everything I have, everything I am." She looked at Lucas desperately. "Who am I if I'm not his daughter?" "You're Victoria, just Victoria, the woman who likes paintings and makes terrible pancakes and laughs at Emma's jokes." He squeezed her hands. "Your father doesn't define you. He created me. No, he raised you. There's a difference." Victoria felt something break open in her chest. "I don't know how to grieve someone I didn't even like." "Then don't. Not yet anyway. Just let yourself feel whatever comes." She leaned against him, exhausted. "Can I stay here tonight?" "Of course." "Emma is asleep and won't mind." He kissed her hair. "Come on, let's get you to bed." He led her to his room, small, messy, completely unlike her pristine penthouse. She borrowed one of his shirts and climbed under the covers while he checked on Emma. When he came back, he slid in beside her, pulling her close. "Thank you," Victoria whispered. "For what? Not telling me how to feel?" "I wouldn't do that." She turned to face him in the dark. "Everyone else will. The board, the investors, the press. They'll expect me to be devastated, to give some touching eulogy about what a great man he was." "What will you do?" "Lie, probably, like I always do." Lucas stroked her hair. "Or you could tell the truth. The truth would destroy his legacy. Maybe his legacy deserves to be destroyed." Victoria considered that. "Maybe it does." They lay in silence. Outside, the city hummed quietly. Inside the small apartment, Victoria felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. "Lucas?" "Yeah?" "I think I'm falling in love with you." She felt him go still, then his arms tightened around her. "Good," he said quietly, "because I'm already there." Victoria closed her eyes and finally let herself sleep. Victoria woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Emma singing off-key in the kitchen. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The hospital, her father's gray face against white sheets, driving through the dark to Lucas's apartment, breaking down, admitting she was falling in love. She sat up slowly. Her eyes felt swollen from crying, her head pounded. Lucas's shirt hung loose on her frame, wrinkled from sleep. The bedroom door opened a crack and Lucas peered in. "Hey, you're awake." "What time is it?" "Almost 9. I let you sleep." He came in carrying a mug of coffee. "Emma knows you're here. I told her you had a rough night and needed a place to stay." "What did she say?" "She wanted to make you breakfast in bed, but I convinced her to let you wake up first." He handed her the coffee. "How are you feeling?" Victoria took a sip. "It was terrible, too strong, slightly burned, perfect. Like I got hit by a truck." "That's grief." "Is it?" She set the mug down. "I still don't feel sad, just hollow." Lucas sat on the edge of the bed. "The hospital called about an hour ago. I didn't want to wake you." Her chest tightened. "Is he still alive? But they said you should probably come by today." Victoria nodded numbly. She knew what that meant. They were waiting for her to say goodbye, to give permission to let him go. I should get dressed. Victoria, I'm fine. She stood, suddenly desperate to move. I just need to get back to the hospital, handle things. You don't have to handle everything alone. Yes, I do. That's my job. Lucas stood too, blocking her path to the door. What if you let someone help for once? Help how? You can't fix this. No, but I can come with you. Victoria started to argue, then stopped. The thought of walking back into that sterile hospital room alone made her stomach turn. What about Emma? Mrs. Chen can watch her. She loves an excuse to spoil Emma rotten. He took Victoria's hands. Let me be there for you. She wanted to say no, wanted to push him away and handle this like she handled everything, alone, efficiently, without emotion. But she was so tired of being strong. Okay, she whispered. Lucas kissed her forehead. Go take a shower. I'll make you something to eat. The shower helped. Victoria stood under the hot water until her skin turned pink, trying to wash away the hospital smell and the feeling of falling apart. When she came out, Lucas had laid out clean clothes for her. Jeans and a sweater she'd left here weeks ago. In the kitchen, Emma was eating cereal at the table, legs swinging. Hi, Victoria, she said brightly. Dad says you're sad. Yeah, a little. Is it because your dad is sick? Victoria sat down across from her. Yes. Emma considered this, chewing thoughtfully. When my mom got sick, I was sad all the time, like my tummy hurt even when I wasn't hungry. That sounds hard. It was. But then she died and I thought I'd be sad forever, but I wasn't. She looked at Victoria with those two wise eyes. I'm still sad sometimes, but not all the time anymore. That's good. Do you think your dad is going to die? Emma, Lucas said from the stove. Maybe we don't. It's okay. Victoria met Emma's gaze. Yeah, I think he is. Are you going to cry? I don't know. Maybe. That's okay if you do. Dad cried a lot when Mom died. He thought I didn't know, but I heard him at night. Lucas looked pained. Jelly bean. It's true. Emma turned back to Victoria. Crying is good. It means you loved them. Victoria felt her throat close up. What if you didn't love them? What if you didn't even like them very much? Emma frowned. Then why are you sad? I don't know. That's dumb. Emma? Lucas warned. What? It is. Emma pushed her cereal around. You should only be sad about people you actually like, otherwise it's a waste of sad. Despite everything, Victoria almost smiled. You're probably right. I usually am. Emma hopped down from the table. I'm going to watch cartoons. Feel better, okay? I'll try. After Emma left, Lucas brought over scrambled eggs and toast. Victoria picked at them, not really hungry, but eating anyway because he'd made them for her. She's something else, Victoria said. She doesn't have a filter. I keep trying to teach her about tactfulness, but no, she's right. It is dumb to be sad about someone you didn't like. Victoria set down her fork. I think I'm mourning what he could have been, the father he should have been. That makes sense. Does it? Because it feels pathetic. She laughed bitterly. 30 years old and I'm still wanting my daddy's approval. Most people never stop wanting that. Did you, with your dad? Lucas was quiet for a moment. My dad left when I was 12. Haven't seen him since. So yeah, I guess I stopped wanting his approval the day he walked out. I'm sorry. Don't be. Made me determined to be different with Emma, to actually show up. He reached across the table, covering her hand with his. Your father didn't deserve you. You know that, right? Victoria pulled her hand back. Can we not do this right now? Do what? The therapy session, the deep emotional unpacking. I just need to get through today. Okay. He didn't push. Finish eating, then we'll go. They left Emma with Mrs. Chen, who promised endless cartoons and homemade cookies. The drive to the hospital felt too short. Victoria stared out the window, watching the city blur past, trying to prepare herself for what came next. Lucas drove carefully, didn't try to fill the silence with pointless platitudes. His presence was enough. At the hospital, nothing had changed. Her father still lay motionless, machines still beeped rhythmically. But there were more doctors now, gathered near the nurses' station with serious faces. Dr. Patterson approached when he saw Victoria. Miss Sinclair, Thank you for coming. Is this Lucas Bennett? Lucas said, shaking his hand. I'm with Victoria. The doctor's eyes flickered with curiosity, but he didn't comment. We need to discuss your father's condition. Perhaps we could speak privately? He can hear it, Victoria said. Whatever you need to say. They moved to a small consultation room. The doctor laid out the situation with clinical precision. Massive brain damage. No meaningful recovery possible. The machines were keeping him alive, but Richard Sinclair was already gone. What are you asking me? Victoria said. We need to know your wishes regarding life support. There it was, the real question. Do you want us to let him die? Victoria looked at Lucas. He squeezed her hand but didn't speak. This was her decision. How long can you keep him alive? She asked. Days, maybe a week, but every hour causes more deterioration. At this point, we're not preserving life. We're prolonging death. Victoria felt nauseous. Can I have some time? Of course. Take whatever you need. After the doctor left, Victoria sat in the plastic chair and stared at the wall. Lucas pulled up another chair beside her. What do I do? She asked. What do you want to do? I don't know. He's my father. Shouldn't I fight for him? Try everything? Is that what he would want? Victoria almost laughed. He'd want to live forever. Keep controlling everything from beyond the grave if he could. That's not what I asked. She knew what Lucas meant. Would Richard Sinclair want to exist like this? Helpless, dependent, brain dead in a hospital bed? No, she admitted. He'd hate it. Then you know what to do. It feels like murder. It's mercy. Victoria closed her eyes, thought about her father, proud, powerful Richard Sinclair, who'd built an empire with his bare hands, who'd never shown weakness, never asked for help, never admitted defeat. He wouldn't want this. She stood. I need to see him first. Lucas waited outside while Victoria entered her father's room alone. She pulled a chair close to the bed and sat, studying his face. The machines breathed for him, making his chest rise and fall in artificial rhythm. I don't know if you can hear me, she said quietly. The doctors say you can't, that you're already gone. But just in case, her voice cracked. She took a breath. I spent my whole life trying to make you proud. Everything I did was for you. Every decision, every sacrifice. I became exactly what you wanted me to be. She wiped her eyes. And you know what? I was good at it. Better than you, actually. The company tripled under my leadership. I made deals you never could have made. I was everything you raised me to be. Silence. Just the beep of monitors. But I was never happy. Never allowed myself to want anything except success. And I blamed you for that. For making me into this machine. She reached out, touching his hand. It was cold. But that's not fair. You didn't make me do anything. I chose this. I chose to please you instead of finding out what I actually wanted. Her tears fell freely now. So I'm angry at you. For being a terrible father. For never loving me the way I needed to be loved. But I'm also angry at myself. For letting you control me even when you weren't around. She stood, leaning over him. I'm letting you go now. Not because I don't care, but because holding on would be selfish, and because I need to figure out who I am without you. She kissed his forehead. Goodbye, Dad. I hope you find whatever you were looking for. She left the room and found Dr. Patterson. I'm ready, she said. You can remove life support. The doctor nodded solemnly. We'll make him comfortable. He won't feel any pain. When will? It varies. Sometimes minutes, sometimes hours. You're welcome to stay. Victoria looked at Lucas. Can we wait outside? Of course. They sat in the hallway, side by side in uncomfortable chairs. Lucas held her hand. Nurses passed by with quiet efficiency. Somewhere down the hall, a baby was crying. After 20 minutes, Dr. Patterson appeared. Ms. Sinclair, he's gone. I'm very sorry for your loss. Victoria nodded. She felt empty, relieved, guilty, sad. Everything and nothing at once. Thank you, she managed. Take your time. There's paperwork, but it can wait. After the doctor left, Lucas pulled her close. You did the right thing. Did I? Yes. She wanted to believe him, wanted to feel certain. Instead, she just felt tired. I need to make calls, she said. The board needs to know. And the lawyers, and probably 100 other people who will want something from me. That can wait. No, it can't. There's the merger and the stock prices and Victoria. Lucas turned her to face him. It can wait. You just lost your father. Give yourself 5 minutes to be human before you go back to being CEO. She stared at him. I don't know how. Then I'll show you. He stood, pulling her up with him. Led her down the hallway to the hospital chapel, a small, quiet room with wooden benches and soft lighting, empty. Lucas sat, pulling her down beside him. Now what? Victoria asked. Now we sit. That's it? That's it. They sat in silence. Victoria felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. Grief, responsibility, exhaustion. She wanted to cry, but couldn't. Wanted to feel something definitive, but only felt numb. Tell me about your mom, Lucas said suddenly. Victoria blinked. What? Your mom. You never talk about her. There's nothing to say. She left when I was 16, divorced my father and moved to Europe. I haven't seen her since. Why did she leave? Because living with Richard Sinclair was hell. Victoria laughed bitterly. She tried to take me with her. He fought it. Money, lawyers, threats. He won. Did you want to go? I don't know. Maybe. She sent letters for a while asking me to visit. I never did. Why not? Because I was angry. She left me with him. She knew what he was like, and she left anyway. Victoria's hands clenched. So I threw myself into school, into work, into becoming his perfect daughter. Proved I didn't need her. But you did need her. Yeah, I did. Lucas was quiet for a moment. You should call her. Tell her what happened. No. Victoria. I said no. She stood, pacing. She gave up the right to know about my life when she abandoned me. She didn't abandon you. She escaped and left me behind because she had to. Lucas stood too. Your father had all the power, all the money. She probably had no choice. There's always a choice. Is there? He looked at her steadily. Because from where I'm standing, you've spent your whole life doing things because you felt you had no choice. Victoria felt like she'd been slapped. That's different. How? Because I'm an adult. I could leave anytime I want. Could you? Really? Lucas crossed his arms. Or would your father's legacy and the board and all those expectations keep you trapped just as effectively as custody laws kept you trapped at 16? You don't understand. You're right. I don't. Because I'm not trapped. I work a job I don't love to support my daughter. And yeah, sometimes it sucks. But if I really wanted to, I could change it. I could go back to school, learn something new, build a different life. He stepped closer. But you? You've convinced yourself you don't have options, that this is just who you are. It is who I am. Bullshit. Victoria stared at him. Excuse me? You heard me? It's bullshit. You're using your father as an excuse to avoid making real choices, to avoid figuring out what you actually want. His voice softened. And I get it. It's scary. Admitting you might want something different means acknowledging you've wasted years being someone you're not. Stop it. Why? Because it's true? Because you have no right. I have every right. I love you, which means I get to tell you when you're lying to yourself. Tears spilled down Victoria's cheeks. You don't love me. You love who you think I could be. No, I love who you are right now, scared and messy and so busy protecting yourself that you can't see what's right in front of you. He cupped her face. I love you, Victoria. All of you. The parts you like and the parts you hate. The CEO and the woman who makes terrible pancakes. The ice queen and the person who cried in my arms last night. I can't. Yes, you can. You just have to let yourself. She kissed him, hard and desperate, trying to shut him up, trying to feel something other than this terrible empty ache. Lucas kissed her back, gentle even as she was rough, until she finally broke down completely. I'm so tired, she sobbed into his chest. I know. I don't know who I am anymore. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. What if I can't change? What if this is all I'm capable of? Then I'll love you anyway. He held her tighter. But I don't think that's true. I think you're capable of anything. You're just scared to try. They stood there, holding each other in the quiet chapel, while Victoria cried for her father and her mother and the life she'd never allowed herself to want. Eventually, the tears stopped. Victoria pulled back, wiping her face. I look like a mess. You look beautiful. Liar. Honest. He smiled. Come on, let's get out of here. They left the hospital and drove aimlessly for a while. Lucas didn't ask where they were going, just drove and let Victoria stare out the window. I need to tell Emma, Victoria said finally. About my father. She'll understand. Will she? Victoria looked at him. She asked if I was going to leave you. What if losing my father makes me pull away? What if I hurt her? What if you don't? That's not an answer. Yes, it is. Lucas reached over, taking her hand. You're going to make mistakes. We both are. But the question isn't whether you'll hurt people sometimes. It's whether you'll stay and work through it when you do. What if I can't? Can't or won't? Victoria was quiet. Lucas pulled over, parking on a random side street. He turned to face her fully. I need you to understand something, he said. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to have all the answers or never mess up or be some different person. He squeezed her hand. I'm asking you to try, to show up, to let yourself be loved even when it's scary. I don't know if I can. Yes, you do. You've been doing it for weeks now, coming to my apartment, meeting Emma, letting me see you cry. He smiled slightly. You're already doing it. You're just scared to admit it. Victoria felt something crack open in her chest. What if I lose you? What if you realize I'm too damaged and leave? Then I leave. And you survive. And you keep going. He touched her face. But I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you push me so hard I have no choice. That's what I do. I push people away. I know, but I'm stubborn. Despite everything, Victoria laughed. You're insane. Probably. Emma says it runs in the family. They sat in the car, snow starting to fall outside, and Victoria realized she was at a crossroads. She could retreat back to her safe, controlled life, or she could step forward into this terrifying unknown. Okay, she whispered. Okay, what? I'll try. I'll really try. Lucas leaned forward and kissed her softly. That's all I'm asking. They drove back to his apartment. Mrs. Chen was reading to Emma when they walked in. You're back! Emma jumped up. Did your dad die? Emma, Lucas said sharply. What? You said he was really sick. Victoria knelt down so she was eye level with Emma. Yeah, he died. Are you sad? A little. Mostly I'm confused. Emma nodded seriously. That makes sense. When Mom died, I was confused too, like I knew I should cry, but sometimes I just wanted to play. Exactly like that. Dad says feelings are messy, that you can feel two things at once. Your dad is smart. I know. Emma hugged her suddenly, fierce and quick. I'm glad you came back. Victoria held her, this little girl who'd lost her mother and somehow came out the other side still believing in love. Me too, she whispered. That night, after Emma went to bed, Victoria and Lucas sat on the couch in the dark. I need to go home eventually, Victoria said. Deal with everything, the funeral, the will, the company. I know, but not tonight. No, not tonight. She leaned against him, feeling his warmth, listening to his steady breathing. Thank you, she said quietly, for not letting me run. Thank you for staying. Outside, the city hummed with its endless rhythm. Inside the small apartment, Victoria Sinclair closed her eyes and let herself rest. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and board meetings and 1,000 decisions. Tomorrow she'd have to be CEO again, have to navigate her father's death and the media circus that would follow. But tonight, she was just Victoria. Just a woman being held by someone who loved her. And for the first time in her life, that felt like enough. Morning came too fast. Victoria woke to Emma singing in the kitchen again, but this time the sound felt different, heavier. Reality settling back in with the daylight. Her father was dead. She had a company to run, a funeral to plan, a board of directors who would be circling like sharks, sensing weakness. Lucas was already up, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low tones. When he saw her awake, he ended the call quickly. Marcus has been trying to reach you, he said. Your phone died last night. Victoria sat up, running her hands through her tangled hair. How many times did he call? 17. That sounds about right. She looked around for her clothes. I need to go home, get cleaned up, start making calls. Have breakfast first. I don't have time, Huko. Victoria. He sat on the edge of the bed. 5 more minutes won't change anything. Emma made you toast. She'll be crushed if you leave without eating it. Guilt twisted in her stomach. Okay, 5 minutes. Emma was at the table, surrounded by scattered crayons and what looked like a sympathy card in progress. She'd drawn a very sad stick figure surrounded by hearts. That's you, Emma explained, pointing to the stick figure. You're sad because your dad died, but there's still love around you. Victoria felt her throat close. It's beautiful. You can have it if you want. Thank you. She took the card carefully, like it might break. I'll keep it somewhere safe. Emma beamed. Dad says you have to go do grown-up stuff today. Yeah, I do. Are you coming back? The question hung in the air. Lucas paused mid-pour with the coffee pot. Victoria knelt down beside Emma's chair. Yes, I'm coming back. When? I don't know exactly. I have a lot to handle, but I promise I'll come back. Okay? Emma studied her seriously. But if you don't, I'm going to be really mad. That's fair. Like super mad. I'll tell everyone at school your company is stupid. Despite everything, Victoria smiled. Noted. She ate the toast Emma had made, slightly burned, too much butter, perfect. Drank the terrible coffee Lucas poured. Tried to memorize this moment before the world came crashing back in. When she finally left, Lucas walked her to her car. Call me when you can, he said, even if it's just for a minute. I will. And Victoria? He caught her hand. Don't disappear on me. I know you're going back to that world, but don't forget this one. I won't. Promise me. She looked at him, at this man who'd somehow become the most important person in her life in a matter of weeks. I promise. He kissed her, soft and lingering, then stepped back. Victoria got in her car and drove away, watching him disappear in a rearview mirror. Her penthouse felt like a museum when she walked in. Too clean, too quiet, too empty. She'd been gone less than 24 hours, but it felt like months. Her phone had died completely. When she plugged it in, it exploded with notifications. 43 missed calls, 67 emails. Texts from Marcus, board members, lawyers, people she barely knew, offering condolences that sounded copied from greeting cards. She ignored all of it and stepped into the shower, letting the hot water pound against her back until her skin turned red. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel, Marcus was sitting in her living room. Jesus Christ, Victoria jumped. How did you get in here? Spare key. You gave it to me 2 years ago. He stood, looking her over with concern. Are you okay? How did you even know I was back? The doorman texted me. I told him to let me know when you arrived. Marcus moved toward her. Victoria, I'm so sorry about your father. The board has been, give me 20 minutes to get dressed, then we'll talk. She didn't wait for his response, just walked to her bedroom and closed the door. Put on a suit, black, tailored armor, pulled her hair back severely, applied makeup to hide the evidence of crying. When she looked in the mirror, Victoria Sinclair, the CEO, stared back, untouchable, in control. It felt like a costume. Marcus was on his phone when she came out, but he hung up immediately. The board wants to meet tomorrow. They're concerned about leadership continuity during the merger. Of course they are. Victoria sat on the pristine white couch. What else? The funeral home needs decisions about arrangements. Your father's lawyer has the will and wants to schedule a reading. The PR team needs a statement, and about 40 reporters have been calling for comment. Tell PR to draft something. Professional, brief, no interviews. She rubbed her temples. Schedule the will reading for next week. I can't deal with that yet. And the funeral? Victoria thought about her father lying in that hospital bed. Thought about all the people who would show up to pay respects to a man they'd feared or hated or simply wanted something from. Saturday. Private service. Invite list limited to board members and senior executives. No media. Your father had a lot of associates who will expect, I don't care what they expect. This isn't a networking opportunity. Her voice came out sharp. Saturday, small, private. Marcus nodded, typing notes. Understood. What about the Hastings merger? Richard was scheduled to present the final terms next week. I'll handle it. Are you sure? Maybe we should postpone. I said I'll handle it. She stood, pacing to the window. The city stretched out below, gray and endless. Is there anything else? Just... Marcus hesitated. Where were you last night? After the hospital? That's none of your business. Victoria, I'm your assistant. If something's going on that could affect the company, it doesn't. The press is already asking questions. Someone saw you at the hospital with a man, not one of us. Victoria's stomach dropped. Who saw me? I don't know, but there are whispers, and you know how this works. Whispers become stories. Stories become problems. She turned to face him. Let them whisper. Victoria, bye. I'm serious. I don't care. Marcus stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Since when? Since now. She crossed her arms. Is that everything? For now? He gathered his things, still looking concerned. Get some rest. You look exhausted. After he left, Victoria stood alone in her perfect apartment and felt the walls closing in. This was her life. Glass and steel and endless demands. No warmth, no mess, no Emma singing off-key, or Lucas making terrible coffee. She pulled out her phone and texted Lucas. Victoria, I miss you already. Is that pathetic? His response came quickly. Lucas, not pathetic. Sweet. How are you holding up? Victoria, drowning in logistics, funeral Saturday, board meeting tomorrow. The usual chaos. Lucas, want to come over tonight? Emma's making spaghetti. Fair warning, it will be overcooked and she uses way too much sauce. Victoria smiled despite everything. Victoria, I can't. Too much to handle here. Rain check? Lucas, of course. Call me if you need to talk, even if it's 3 a.m. Victoria, thank you. She set the phone down and got to work. The next 3 days blurred together. Meetings with lawyers, accountants, board members, decisions about flower arrangements and music, and who would speak at the service. Endless phone calls expressing sympathy that felt empty. Victoria handled it all with mechanical efficiency, smiled when appropriate, nodded in the right places, signed papers without reading them too closely. She texted Lucas when she could, brief messages between meetings, late at night when she couldn't sleep. He sent photos of Emma's latest drawings, updates about their day, jokes that weren't particularly funny, but made her feel less alone. On Thursday night, her phone rang at 11. Lucas. Hey, she answered. Everything okay? Yeah, we're good. Just wanted to hear your voice. He sounded tired. How was your day? Long? Yours? Same. Fixed 4 furnaces, got yelled at by a lady who said we charged too much, came home to Emma having a meltdown about math homework. Is she okay? Fine now. Fractions are apparently the devil's work. He paused. I miss you. I miss you too. When can I see you? After the funeral. I just need to get through the next few days. Victoria. His tone shifted. Are you pulling away? What? No. It feels like you are. She sat on her bed, guilt washing over her. I'm not. I'm just overwhelmed. There's so much to handle. I get that, but you've barely talked to me, and when you do, it's like you're somewhere else. I'm trying to keep everything together. By shutting me out? That's not what I'm doing, isn't it? He sighed. Look, I don't want to fight. I'm worried about you. You sound like you're back in that headspace where you think you have to handle everything alone. I do have to handle it alone. It's my company, my father, my responsibility. Okay. His voice went quiet. If that's how you feel. Lucas, it's late. You should get some rest. We'll talk after the funeral. He hung up before she could respond. Victoria stared at the phone, feeling sick. He was right. She was pulling away, falling back into old patterns because they felt safer than this terrifying vulnerability. She started to call him back, then stopped. What would she even say? She didn't know how to be both CEO and girlfriend, didn't know how to run a company while falling in love, didn't know how to grieve her father while building a life with someone new. So she did what she always did, pushed the feelings down, and went back to work. The funeral was exactly as awful as Victoria expected. St. Catherine's Cathedral was too big, too formal, too full of people who'd come for appearances rather than grief. The board members sat in the front rows, already strategizing their next moves. Investors whispered about stock prices. Competitors pretended to mourn while calculating opportunities. Victoria sat alone in the first pew, watching them all with detached clarity. The priest gave a generic eulogy about Richard Sinclair's business acumen and philanthropic contributions. Didn't mention that he'd been cruel to his wife, or cold to his daughter, or ruthlessly destroyed anyone who stood in his way. Marcus had written Victoria a speech. She was supposed to go up after the priest, talk about her father's legacy and vision and commitment to excellence. Instead, when her name was called, she stood and walked to the pulpit without the notes. The cathedral fell silent. "My father was a complicated man," Victoria began. Her voice echoed off marble walls. "He built an empire, created thousands of jobs, changed entire industries. By every external measure, he was successful." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "But he was also my father, and as a father, he was difficult." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "He taught me that emotion was weakness, that love was a liability, that the only thing that mattered was winning." Marcus was making frantic gestures from the second row. She ignored him. "For 30 years, I believed him. I built my life around those principles, became exactly what he wanted me to be. And you know what? I was miserable." Someone coughed. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not here to destroy his reputation," Victoria continued, "but I'm also not going to pretend he was someone he wasn't. Richard Sinclair was brilliant, driven, and absolutely dedicated to his work. He was also lonely, controlling, and incapable of showing love to the people closest to him." She gripped the edge of the pulpit. "I spent years trying to earn his approval, trying to be perfect enough, successful enough, ruthless enough. And then he died, and I realized he was never going to give me what I needed because he didn't know how." Tears ran down her face. She didn't wipe them away. "So I'm not standing here to celebrate a perfect man. I'm standing here to acknowledge a flawed one, and to say that despite everything, despite all the ways he hurt me, I'm grateful for the lessons he taught me, even the painful ones." She looked directly at the board members. "My father taught me that success without humanity is empty, that power without compassion is just cruelty, that building an empire means nothing if you destroy yourself in the process." She took a shaky breath. "Those probably weren't the lessons he meant to teach, but they're the ones I needed to learn." Victoria stepped down from the pulpit and walked out of the cathedral. Behind her, shocked silence gave way to urgent whispers. She didn't care, didn't look back. Outside, snow was falling. Victoria stood on the cathedral steps, letting it collect in her hair, and finally let herself cry. She didn't hear footsteps until someone was standing beside her. "That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen." Victoria turned. A woman in her late 50s stood there, elegant in a black coat, dark hair streaked with silver. Familiar eyes. "Mom!" Victoria's voice cracked. Catherine Sinclair smiled sadly. "Hi, baby." They stood staring at each other for a long moment. 14 years since they'd seen each other. 14 years of silence and hurt and unresolved anger. "What are you doing here?" Victoria finally asked. "He was my husband once. Even if it ended badly, I thought I should pay respects." Catherine gestured to the cathedral. "But that speech, that wasn't about him, was it?" "I don't know what it was about." "Yes, you do." Her mother stepped closer. "It was about you, finally admitting that his way isn't the only way. You don't know anything about my life." "You're right. I don't. Because you never returned my calls, never answered my letters. You left me with him," Victoria said, anger rising. "You knew what he was like, and you left anyway." "I had no choice. Everyone has a choice." "Not when your husband controls everything. Not when he threatens to destroy you if you fight back." Catherine's voice shook. "I tried to take you with me. Spent every dollar I had on lawyers. He buried me, made it impossible. You could have kept trying." "I could have. You're right." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "I was weak. I ran instead of fighting, and I've regretted it every single day since." Victoria felt her anger crack. Why didn't you keep reaching out? Because you made it clear you didn't want me in your life. The last letter I sent you returned unopened with a note that said, "Stop contacting me." I was 22. I was angry. I know, and I should have tried harder anyway. Catherine reached out tentatively. But I'm here now. If you'll let me be. Victoria looked at her mother, really looked at her, saw the regret and pain and hope all mixed together. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said honestly. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to know you again. Before Victoria could respond, Marcus burst out of the cathedral. Victoria, what the hell was that? The board is furious. Gerald Henderson is talking about calling an emergency meeting. You need to... He stopped when he saw Catherine. Mrs. Sinclair, I didn't realize you were coming. I wasn't planning to, but I'm glad I did. Catherine looked at Victoria. Can we talk? Privately? Marcus started to protest, but Victoria cut him off. Give me an hour, then we'll deal with the board. Victoria, 1 hour, Marcus. He looked like he wanted to argue, then just nodded and walked away. Catherine and Victoria found a quiet cafe 2 blocks from the cathedral, sat across from each other with coffee neither of them drank. Tell me about your life, Catherine said. The real version, not what I read in business magazines. Victoria didn't know where to start, so she started with Lucas. She told her mother everything. The gala, the balcony conversation, the coffee dates and pancake breakfasts, and falling in love with a man who fixed furnaces and had an 8-year-old daughter, the way he made her question everything she'd built. Catherine listened without interrupting. Do you love him? She asked when Victoria finished. Yes. Does he love you? He says he does. Then why do you look so miserable about it? Victoria laughed bitterly. Because I don't know how to be both. The CEO and the girlfriend. The person the board expects and the person Lucas deserves. Who says you have to choose? Everyone. The board thinks I'm distracted. Marcus is worried about optics, and Lucas... She trailed off. I've been pulling away from him, falling back into old habits. He called me on it, and I didn't know how to explain that I'm terrified. Of what? Losing everything. The company, my reputation, him, all of it. Victoria's voice broke. I spent my whole life building this perfect image, and now I'm destroying it because I can't keep pretending anymore. Catherine reached across the table, taking her hand. Good. Good? That image was killing you, Victoria. I saw it happening, and I couldn't stop it because I wasn't here. But I see you now, and you're finally becoming real. Real doesn't pay the bills. No, but it makes life worth living. Her mother squeezed her hand. Your father built an empire at the cost of his humanity. Don't make the same mistake. What if I can't have both? Then you decide which one you can't live without. Victoria pulled her hand back. You're saying I should give up the company? I'm saying you should figure out what actually matters to you, not what mattered to Richard, not what the board expects, what you want. I don't know what I want. Yes, you do. You're just scared to admit it. They sat in silence. Outside, people hurried past bundled against the cold. Normal people living normal lives. He has a daughter, Victoria said quietly. Emma. She's 8. Smart and funny and so full of life. And I don't know how to be in her life. I don't know anything about kids or being a stepmother or any of that. Did you think your father knew how to be a parent when you were born? He didn't. That was the problem. Exactly. Nobody knows. You just try your best and hope you don't screw up too badly. Catherine smiled slightly. And from what you've told me, this Lucas sounds like he'd help you figure it out. He would. Victoria felt tears building. He's patient and kind and keeps calling me on my bullshit, and I keep pushing him away because I don't know how to let someone love me. Then you learn. How? By trying, by failing, by getting back up and trying again. Her mother's voice was firm. You're brilliant, Victoria. You run a multi-billion-dollar company. You can figure out how to let someone love you. Victoria started crying, really crying. Her mother came around the table and held her while she sobbed. I'm so scared, Victoria whispered. I know, baby. I know. They stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, Victoria's phone started ringing. Marcus. Again. I have to deal with the board, she said, pulling away and wiping her eyes. What are you going to tell them? I don't know yet. Catherine stood with her. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. That speech took courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Her mother hugged her again. Call me? I'm staying at the Berkshire for a few days. Okay? I mean it, Victoria. Don't disappear on me again. I won't.
They left the cafe together. At the corner, Catherine went one way and Victoria went the other. Victoria walked back to her building, mind racing. She needed to face the board, needed to deal with whatever fallout her speech had caused. But first, she needed to talk to Lucas. She pulled out her phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. Hey. Her voice shook. I'm sorry for pulling away, for shutting you out. You were right about everything. Victoria. No, let me finish. I'm scared. I'm terrified, actually. Of losing myself in this relationship, of hurting Emma, of the board thinking I'm weak, of everything falling apart. She took a breath. But I'm more scared of losing you. Silence. Lucas? I'm here. Just processing. He sounded emotional. Where are you? Outside my building. The funeral was complicated. I saw my mother. Your mother showed up?
Yeah, we talked. She said some things that made sense. Victoria leaned against the cold brick. I want to see you. Can I come over? Now? If that's okay. I know I have a million things to deal with, but I need to see you. Come over. We're just watching movies. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up and walked to her car, ignoring 3 calls from Marcus. When she knocked on Lucas's door, Emma answered, wearing pajamas covered in cartoon dinosaurs. Victoria! She threw her arms around her. You came back! I did. Victoria hugged her tightly. Is that okay? Obviously, we're watching Moana. Do you like Moana? I've never seen it. Emma's eyes went wide. Dad! Victoria has never seen Moana. This is an emergency. Lucas appeared from the kitchen, smiling. Then I guess we're watching it from the beginning. He came over and kissed Victoria softly. You okay? Getting there, they settled on the couch, Emma between them, chattering about her favorite parts and explaining the plot, even though the movie was just starting. Lucas's arm along the back of the couch, fingers brushing Victoria's shoulder. Victoria felt something settle in her chest. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. She'd deal with the board tomorrow. Would face whatever consequences came from her speech. Would figure out how to balance the life she'd built with the life she wanted. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be. Watching a movie she didn't understand, next to a little girl who'd stolen her heart, held by a man who saw her clearly and loved her anyway. And for the first time since her father died, Victoria Sinclair felt like she could breathe. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. Victoria spent Sunday preparing, running through arguments and counter-arguments, anticipating every angle of attack. But she also spent Sunday making pancakes with Emma. Badly. The kitchen ended up covered in batter, and Lucas had to finish them while Emma and Victoria cleaned up the mess, laughing. You're getting worse at this, not better, Emma observed, scrubbing flour off the counter. I'm trying. Try harder. Lucas caught Victoria's eye from the stove and smiled. She smiled back, feeling something warm unfold in her chest, despite the dread about tomorrow. That night after Emma went to bed, Lucas and Victoria sat on the couch in the dark. You nervous about tomorrow? He asked. Terrified. What's the worst they can do? Vote me out. Install a new CEO. Dismantle everything I've built. She picked at a loose thread on the couch. Prove my father was right that I'm not strong enough. Your father was wrong about a lot of things. Was he, though? Victoria looked at Lucas. I'm standing in front of the board tomorrow and basically admitting I've been lying to them, pretending to be someone I'm not. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. No, but it inspires trust. There's a difference. Not in business. Maybe it should be. He pulled her closer. What do you actually want to happen tomorrow? Victoria thought about it. Honestly, I want to keep running the company, but I want to do it differently. Make decisions based on more than just profit margins. Consider the human cost, not just the financial one. Then tell them that. They'll think I've lost my mind. Some of them might, but some might be relieved. Lucas kissed her temple.
You're not the only person who's tired of the way things are. You're just the first one brave enough to say it out loud. Or stupid enough.
Same thing. She laughed despite herself. How are you so calm about this? Because whatever happens, you'll figure it out. And I'll be here either way. What if I lose everything? Then you'll build something new. He turned her face toward him. Victoria, you're more than just CEO of Sinclair Industries. You know that, right? Logically, yes. Emotionally, no. Then I'll keep reminding you until it sticks.
They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, sirens wailed past. A dog barked somewhere in the building. My mom wants to have dinner, Victoria said quietly. The three of us, you, me, and her. How do you feel about that? Weird, scared, angry still, a little. She paused. But also hopeful, which is strange. Why is it strange? Because I've spent 14 years convinced I didn't need her, and now, suddenly, I do. People change. Needs change. Lucas stroked her hair. There's no shame in wanting your mother. She left me. She did. And that hurt you. But she's here now. He looked at her steadily. The question is whether you're going to let the past keep you from a future with her. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just a guy who lost someone important and learned not to waste time being stubborn. He smiled sadly. Life's too short to hold grudges against people who are actually trying. Is she trying, though, or is this just guilt? Does it matter? If she shows up, if she makes an effort, if she wants to know you now, isn't that worth something? Victoria leaned against him. You make everything sound so simple. That's because it is. We just complicate it to avoid being vulnerable. Okay, now you're definitely being too wise. It's unsettling. Lucas laughed. Sorry, I'll go back to making fun of your pancakes. Please do. That I can handle. Monday morning came with fresh snow and bitter cold. Victoria dressed in her sharpest suit, navy this time, not black. She wanted to look professional, but not like she was in mourning. Marcus met her in the lobby of Sinclair Tower, looking stressed. They're all here. Gerald's been rallying support against you. Claims your speech was proof you're having a breakdown. Of course he is. Victoria, you need to be careful. He's building a coalition. If enough board members vote, I know how it works, Marcus. They rode the elevator in tense silence. On the top floor, the conference room was already full. 12 board members, plus various lawyers and advisors, all watching her with expressions ranging from concern to calculation. Gerald Henderson sat at the far end of the table, looking smug. Victoria took her seat at the head of the table and set down her briefcase. Thank you all for coming on short notice, she began. I know my speech at my father's funeral raised concerns, so let me address them directly. Gerald leaned back in his chair. Please do. We're all quite curious about your state of mind. Victoria ignored the jab. For the past 6 years, I've run this company exactly as my father taught me. Prioritize profit above all else. Make decisions based purely on financial metrics. Treat employees as expendable resources. And it worked. We tripled our value, expanded into new markets, made everyone in this room significantly wealthier. Murmurs of agreement around the table. But it also made us ruthless. The Hastings merger? We're cutting 2,000 jobs. Not because we have to, but because it improves our margins by 3%. 2,000 people losing their livelihood, so our stock price goes up a few points. That's business, Gerald said. Is it? Or is it just cruelty disguised as strategy? Victoria looked around the table. I'm not suggesting we become a charity, but I am suggesting we consider whether maximum profit is the only metric that matters. What else is there? Another board member asked. Employee retention, community impact, long-term sustainability instead of quarterly gains. Victoria pulled out a folder. I've been looking at companies that prioritize these things. They're not less profitable, just differently profitable. They build loyalty, reduce turnover, create positive brand association. Things that matter when you're thinking beyond the next earnings report. Gerald scoffed. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You've gone soft. Let some personal crisis cloud your judgment. My judgment is clearer than it's ever been. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, you're letting emotion override sound business sense. My father would be disappointed. I know. He'd say I'm weak for caring about people over profits. He'd tell me I'm destroying his legacy. Victoria's voice stayed calm. And he'd be wrong. The room went silent.
Richard Sinclair built an empire, Victoria continued, but he died alone and angry. He had no real relationships, no joy, just money and power and the hollow satisfaction of winning. She looked directly at Gerald. I don't want that life, and I don't think this company has to operate that way to succeed. So what are you proposing? Asked Margaret Chen, the CFO.
I'm proposing we restructure the Hastings merger, keep more of their workforce, invest in retraining programs. Yes, it'll cost us short term, but it'll build goodwill, maintain institutional knowledge, and position us as a company that values people. The shareholders will revolt, Gerald said.
Some might. Others might appreciate a company with ethics.
Victoria pulled out more documents. I've drafted a proposal. New policies around acquisitions, employee treatment, environmental impact. Nothing radical, just basic human decency integrated into our business model. She passed the documents around the table. Board members started reading, expressions skeptical. This is corporate suicide, Gerald muttered.
No, it's evolution.
Victoria stood. The world is changing. Younger investors want companies that align with their values. Employees want to work somewhere they feel valued. Customers are paying attention to how companies treat people. She looked around the room. We can evolve with these changes, or we can cling to the old way and become irrelevant. Margaret looked up from the proposal. These numbers, they're actually not terrible. The profit margins are lower, Gerald argued. By 2%, hardly catastrophic. Margaret kept reading. And the employee retention projections could actually save us money on recruiting and training. Other board members started nodding, discussing amongst themselves. Gerald's face reddened. This is absurd. We don't answer to employees or customers. We answer to shareholders. And shareholders want maximum return. Do they? Victoria challenged. Or is that just what we've been telling ourselves to justify our decisions? I'm calling for a vote, Gerald announced. All in favor of removing Victoria Sinclair as CEO on grounds of impaired judgment. Victoria's heart hammered. This was it. The moment everything could fall apart. 3 hands went up. Gerald's and 2 of his allies. Then nothing. Gerald looked around incredulous. Are you all insane? She just admitted to letting personal feelings influence business decisions. She admitted to being human, Margaret said quietly, which frankly, I find refreshing. She's making us weaker. No, she's making us adaptable. Margaret looked at Victoria. I'd like to see a full presentation of this proposal, with projections, implementation timeline, risk assessment. I can have that ready by Friday, Victoria said. Good. I think we should seriously consider this direction. Margaret looked around the table. Anyone else want to hear more? 8 hands went up, 9 if she counted her own. Gerald stood abruptly. This is a mistake. You're all making a terrible mistake. Noted, Victoria said calmly. Anything else? He stormed out. His 2 allies followed, looking uncertain. After they left, the energy in the room shifted. Board members started asking questions, real questions, not attacks. About implementation, about metrics, about how to balance compassion with fiscal responsibility. Victoria answered each one, feeling something unlock in her chest. This wasn't a fight, it was a conversation. The meeting ran 3 hours. When it finally ended, Victoria was exhausted but hopeful. Marcus caught her in the hallway. That was unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Good, I think. You got them listening. He paused. Gerald's going to fight you, though. He won't give up. I know, but he's only 3 votes. I can work with 9.
You're actually doing this, changing everything? Trying to, anyway. Victoria looked at him. Are you okay with that? Marcus smiled. Honestly, it's kind of exciting. I've been watching you burn yourself out trying to be your father for 6 years. This is the first time you've seemed actually alive. It's terrifying. Most good things are. Victoria went back to her office and called Lucas. How'd it go? He answered immediately. Better than expected. Gerald tried to get me fired, failed miserably. The rest actually want to hear my proposal. That's amazing. It's a start. Still a lot of work to do. She leaned back in her chair.
but I think I might actually pull this off. I never doubted it. Liar. Okay, I doubted a little, but only because you doubted. His voice softened. I'm proud of you. Victoria felt tears build. Thank you for believing in me even when I didn't. Always. Now come over for dinner. Emma wants to show you her science project. What is it? A volcano. There will be vinegar explosions. It's going to be a disaster. Sounds perfect. That evening, Victoria sat at Lucas's tiny kitchen table while Emma demonstrated her volcano with intense seriousness. Vinegar and baking soda erupted everywhere, covering the table in foam. Science! Emma yelled triumphantly. Lucas grabbed towels, laughing. This is why we do projects on the table, not the carpet. Victoria helped clean up, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. This was real. Messy and chaotic and absolutely real. Later, after Emma went to bed, Victoria got a text from her mother. Catherine, dinner this week? I'd love to meet Lucas and Emma. Victoria showed Lucas the message. What do you think? I think you should say yes. Are you sure? It might be awkward. Life is awkward. We'll survive. He kissed her forehead. Besides, Emma will charm her immediately and break any tension. Victoria smiled and typed back. Victoria, Thursday night? We could come to you. Catherine, perfect. I'll make reservations at Marcello's. 6 p.m.? Victoria, see you then. She set the phone down, feeling nervous but okay with it. Thursday arrived faster than Victoria expected. She picked up Lucas and Emma in her car, which Emma immediately declared fancier than Dad's car, but not as fun. What makes Dad's car fun? Victoria asked. It smells like French fries and the radio only plays static on half the channels. Lucas groaned. Thanks, Jellybean. Really selling it. I'm just being honest. You said honesty is important. I'm regretting that lesson. They arrived at Marcello's, upscale but not pretentious. Catherine was already there, waiting at a corner table. She stood when she saw them, looking nervous. Hi, Victoria said awkwardly. Hi. Catherine's eyes went to Emma. You must be Emma. Emma studied her carefully. Are you Victoria's mom who left her? Emma! Lucas looked mortified. What? She did. Catherine laughed, surprised. Yes, I am, and you're absolutely right to call me on it. Emma considered this. Do you feel bad about it? Every single day. Good. Victoria's really nice, and you shouldn't have left her. Emma took her seat. Can I have breadsticks? The adult sat, slightly stunned. Lucas recovered first. I'm Lucas. Sorry about the interrogation. Don't be. She's honest. Catherine smiled at Emma. I like honest people. Dinner started awkwardly, but Emma's endless chatter made it impossible to stay tense. She asked Catherine about France, about why adults drank wine if it tasted bad, about whether she liked dinosaurs. Catherine answered each question seriously, and slowly Victoria watched her mother relax. Saw glimpses of the woman she'd been before Richard Sinclair crushed her spirit. After Emma finished eating and got distracted by the fish tank near the entrance, the adults could finally talk. She's wonderful, Catherine said, watching Emma press her face against the glass. She really is, Victoria agreed. Catherine looked at Lucas. Thank you for making my daughter happy. I can see it in her face. Victoria makes herself happy. I just provide moral support and terrible coffee. The coffee really is awful, Victoria confirmed. They all laughed, and something eased in Victoria's chest. I'm sorry I wasn't there, Catherine said quietly. For all of it. Your graduation, your first job, taking over the company. I should have fought harder to stay in your life. You're here now, Victoria said. That's what matters. Is it enough? I don't know yet, but I'm willing to find out. Catherine reached across the table, taking Victoria's hand. I'll take it. Lucas excused himself to check on Emma, giving them privacy. He's good for you, Catherine said. I know. Are you going to marry him? Victoria choked on her wine. Mom, we've been together for like 2 months. So? When you know, you know. It's not that simple. Why not? Catherine smiled. I know I'm not one to give relationship advice given my track record, but I can tell you that man loves you, and his daughter is already planning your wedding in her head. How can you possibly know that?
She asked me if I'd come visit after you and her dad get married. Direct quote. Victoria laughed, feeling warm and terrified. We haven't talked about that. Maybe you should. It's too soon. For some people, maybe. But you're not some people. Catherine squeezed her hand. You spent 30 years being what your father wanted. Don't waste more time being what you think you should be.
Victoria looked over at Lucas and Emma by the fish tank. Emma was explaining something animated, probably about marine biology. Lucas was listening with complete attention, the way he always did. She loved them, both of them, so much it scared her. What if I mess it up? Victoria whispered. Then you apologize and try again. That's what people do. Catherine's voice was gentle. Love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when you're terrified. I don't know how to show up. I only know how to perform. Then learn. You're brilliant, Victoria. You can figure this out. That was the second time someone had told her that. Maybe it was time to believe it. The following weeks fell into a new rhythm. Victoria worked on her proposal during the day, presented it to the board, negotiated compromises. It wasn't easy. Gerald fought her at every turn, and some board members remained skeptical. But slowly, things shifted. The Hastings merger was restructured. They kept 60% of the workforce instead of 40%. Invested in training programs. Implemented new environmental standards. The stock price dipped slightly, then stabilized. Then actually started climbing as positive press coverage increased. Sinclair Industries announces human-centered business model, read one headline. Billionaire CEO prioritizes people over profits, said another. Gerald tried to use the coverage against her, claiming she was making the company soft. But the numbers didn't lie. Employee retention improved, productivity increased, customer satisfaction ratings went up. At home, and Lucas's apartment had become home more than her own penthouse, Victoria learned how to be part of a family. She got better at pancakes, started helping Emma with homework, learned which cartoons were acceptable and which were for babies. Emma's school had a father-daughter dance in late February. Emma asked Lucas if Victoria could come too. It's called father-daughter, Lucas said gently. I don't think, but Victoria's basically my mom now, Emma argued. Everyone has moms at these things. Lucas looked at Victoria, uncertain. It's okay if you're not comfortable. I'll come, Victoria heard herself say, if that's what Emma wants. Yes, Emma hugged her. You have to wear a fancy dress, like the one from the gala. I'll find something appropriate. The dance was in the school gymnasium, decorated with streamers and balloons. Victoria felt absurdly out of place in her cocktail dress among other parents in casual clothes. But Emma held her hand proudly, introducing her to friends. This is Victoria. She's dating my dad. She's a CEO, but she's nice anyway. Other parents smiled politely, clearly recognizing her from the news. A few looked judgmental. Most just looked curious. Lucas danced with Emma first, a slow song where she stood on his feet and he spun her around. Victoria watched them, heart full. Then Emma dragged Victoria onto the floor. You have to dance too. Victoria hadn't danced in years, didn't remember how. But Emma didn't care, just bounced around enthusiastically while Victoria swayed awkwardly. You're terrible at this, Emma giggled. I know. But you're trying. That's what matters. Later, driving home with Emma asleep in the back seat, Lucas reached over and took Victoria's hand. Thank you for tonight, he said quietly. I didn't do anything special. You showed up. For Emma. For us. He glanced at her. That's everything. Victoria looked out at the city lights blurring past. Thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. Cold, controlled, alone. Thought about who she was becoming. Messy, uncertain, loved. I have something to tell you, she said. Okay. The board approved my proposal. All of it. We're officially restructuring how the company operates. Victoria, that's amazing. It is. But it's also terrifying. I'm basically betting my career on this working. It'll work. You don't know that. No, but I believe in you, which is almost the same thing. He pulled into his parking lot. What happens if it doesn't work? Victoria thought about it. Then I'll figure something else out. Maybe start my own company. Do something completely different. Like what? I don't know. Paint, maybe? Like I used to? Lucas smiled. I'd like to see that.
They carried Emma inside and tucked her into bed. She barely woke up, just mumbled, "Love you guys," before falling back asleep. In Lucas's bedroom, they got ready for bed in comfortable silence. Victoria had started keeping clothes here, toiletries, pieces of herself. "I saw a bigger apartment yesterday," Lucas said suddenly. 3 bedrooms. Closer to Emma's school. Victoria's heart skipped. "Why 3 bedrooms?" "One for Emma, one for me." He looked at her. "One for you, if you wanted." "Lucas, I'm not proposing, not yet anyway, but I'm saying I want a future with you, a real one, where you don't keep half your life in a penthouse across town." Victoria felt tears building. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Everything. Moving in together, being responsible for Emma, the board finding out and using it against me, losing myself in this." "What if you found yourself instead?" She looked at him. "What?" "You've spent your whole life being what other people needed, your father's perfect daughter, the company's fearless CEO. What if this is your chance to figure out who you actually are? What if I don't like who that is? Then you'll change, but I'm betting you'll like her just fine." He pulled her close. "Move in with us. Not because you have to, because you want to." Victoria buried her face in his chest. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need." But she already knew her answer. She'd known it the moment he asked. 2 weeks later, Victoria started moving her things into the new apartment. It was bigger, brighter, with a view of the park instead of the city. Emma picked out paint colors for her room, purple with yellow stars. Victoria's mother helped with the move, along with Marcus, who kept muttering about how surreal this was. "6 months ago, you lived in a penthouse," he said, carrying a box of books. "Now you're in a 3-bedroom with a heating technician and his kid. His name is Lucas, and I'm happy." "I can see that," Marcus smiled. "It's weird, but I'm happy for you." The night they finished moving in, they ordered pizza and sat on the floor of the empty living room. Emma talked about redecorating, Lucas planned furniture arrangements, and Victoria just listened, feeling home settle around her. Later, after Emma went to bed in her purple and yellow room, Lucas found Victoria standing by the window. "Regrets?" he asked. "None." She turned to face him. "Terrified, yes, but no regrets." "Good." He wrapped his arms around her. "Because I love you, and I'm planning to keep loving you even when you overcomplicate things." "I'm going to overcomplicate things a lot." "I know, that's part of your charm." She laughed. "My charm is overthinking?" "Your charm is caring so much about getting it right that you spiral into anxiety. It's very endearing." "You're insane." "Probably." He kissed her. "But I'm your kind of insane." Victoria kissed him back, deep and certain. Felt his hands in her hair, the solid warmth of him, the absolute rightness of this moment. When they pulled apart, she said the words she'd been too scared to say out loud. "Marry me." Lucas stared at her. "What?" "Marry me. I know it's fast and probably crazy, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend more time being careful and strategic. I just want you." "Victoria, you don't have to answer now. Think about it. Talk to Emma. I just needed to say it before I lost my nerve." Lucas laughed, pulling her close again. "You're something else. You know that?" "Is that a yes?" "It's a, we should probably discuss this when it's not midnight and we're not exhausted from moving." "That's fair. But for the record," he kissed her forehead, "my answer is yes. Obviously yes. I just want Emma to be part of the decision." "Of course." They stood by the window, holding each other, while the city hummed below. The next morning, Emma found them making breakfast. "Are you guys being weird?" she asked suspiciously. "Always," Lucas said. "Weirder than normal." Victoria and Lucas exchanged glances. "Come sit down, Jellybean," Lucas said. "We want to ask you something." Emma climbed onto a chair, looking concerned. "Am I in trouble?" "No, nothing like that." Lucas took Victoria's hand. "Victoria and I have been talking about our future as a family." "Okay. How would you feel if Victoria and I got married?" Emma's eyes went huge. "Really?" "Really. But only if you're okay with it." "Are you kidding? Obviously I'm okay with it." She jumped down and hugged Victoria. "You're going to be my real mom. Victoria felt tears spill over. Well, stepmom, your real mom will always be your real mom. I know, but you can be my real mom too. People can have more than one. Emma pulled back. Can I be in the wedding? Of course. And wear a fancy dress? The fanciest. And can we have chocolate cake? Lucas laughed. I think we can arrange that. Emma ran off to call her friend Sophie with the news. Lucas pulled Victoria close. So we're really doing this, he said. We're really doing this. Any idea when? Soon. I don't want a big production. Just us and the people we love.
That sounds perfect. They got married 6 weeks later in the same park where they'd first kissed. Small ceremony, 30 people. Catherine was there, crying happy tears. Marcus served as Victoria's unofficial best man. Emma was flower girl in a purple dress that matched her bedroom walls. Gerald Henderson sent a passive-aggressive email about corporate leadership stability. Victoria deleted it without responding. The ceremony was simple. A judge they'd hired, vows they'd written themselves. Lucas promised to make terrible coffee and love her even when she was impossible. Victoria promised to try her best and keep showing up even when she was scared. Emma stood between them, holding both their hands, grinning so wide her face might split. Afterward, they had dinner at a restaurant Lucas and Victoria had gone to on their second date. Nothing fancy, just good food and people they loved. Catherine pulled Victoria aside during dessert. Your father would have hated this, she said. I know. Good. That means you're doing it right. She hugged her daughter. I'm so proud of you for choosing yourself, for choosing love. I'm still figuring it out. We all are. That's the whole point. At work, things continued to evolve. The Hastings merger completed successfully. Employee satisfaction ratings hit record highs. 3 other companies reached out asking about Victoria's restructuring model. Gerald finally resigned from the board, claiming he wanted to pursue other opportunities. Everyone knew he'd lost and couldn't handle it. Victoria didn't gloat, just sent him a professional email thanking him for his years of service. 6 months after the wedding, Victoria found out she was pregnant. She stared at the test in Lucas's bathroom, hands shaking. This wasn't planned, wasn't part of any strategy. But there it was. 2 pink lines changing everything again. Emma knocked on the door. Victoria, you okay in there? Yeah, just a second. She opened the door. Emma looked at her, then at the test in her hand. Is that what I think it is? Emma asked. How do you even know what this is? You're 8. I'm almost 9, and Sophie's mom just had a baby. I know stuff. Emma grinned. Are you pregnant? It appears so. Does Dad know? Not yet. He's going to freak out, in a good way. Emma hugged her. I'm going to be a big sister. Are you okay with that? Are you kidding? This is the best news ever. She pulled back. Can we name it something cool? Not like Jennifer or Michael, something actually cool. Victoria laughed through tears. We'll discuss it. That night she told Lucas. He did freak out, exactly like Emma predicted. Happy freaking out, with tears and laughter, and holding her so tight she could barely breathe. We're having a baby, he kept saying. We're actually having a baby. Are you okay with this? I know we didn't plan. I'm better than okay. He trailed off, kissing her instead. Emma appeared in the doorway. Are you guys crying again? You cry so much now. Happy crying, Lucas said. That's still weird. She climbed onto the bed between them. Can the babies share my room? I'll teach them everything. We'll figure it out, Victoria said. They lay there together, Lucas, Victoria, Emma, talking about the future, about cribs and names and what color to paint the nursery, about how their family was growing and changing and becoming something none of them had planned, but all of them wanted. Later, after Emma finally fell asleep in their bed, Lucas and Victoria moved to the living room. I never thought I'd have this again, Lucas said quietly. After Sarah died, I convinced myself this part of my life was over. Are you scared? Terrified, but also excited. He looked at her. What about you? I keep waiting to panic, to feel trapped or overwhelmed, but I just feel happy. Victoria shook her head. 6 months ago, I couldn't imagine this life. Now I can't imagine any other. No regrets about the penthouse? None. Though I do miss the water pressure. Lucas laughed. We can't all have luxury shower heads. Apparently, I can survive without them. Who knew? They sat in comfortable silence, Victoria's head on Lucas's shoulder. You know what's weird? She said. What? I spent 30 years trying to build the perfect life. Perfect career, perfect image, perfect control over everything, and I was miserable. She looked around their modest apartment with its mismatched furniture and Emma's toys scattered everywhere. Now I have this messy, chaotic, completely unplanned life, and I've never been happier. Maybe perfect is overrated. Maybe it doesn't even exist. Maybe we just made it up to torture ourselves. Deep thoughts at midnight. Pregnancy hormones. Apparently they make me philosophical. Lucas kissed her head. I love you. Philosophical and all. I love you too. Even though your coffee is still terrible. It builds character. It builds nothing but regret. They laughed, and Victoria felt something settle in her bones. This was it. This was what she'd been searching for without knowing it. Not perfection, not control, just love and mess and showing up every day trying to be better than she was yesterday. The baby was born in early spring, a girl they named Sarah, after Lucas's first wife. Emma insisted on it, said her mom would have wanted to be remembered that way. Little Sarah was loud and demanding and absolutely perfect. Emma was instantly devoted, wanting to help with everything. Lucas was terrified and wonderful, and Victoria discovered that being a mother was nothing like running a company, but also exactly like it. You made your best guess and hoped you didn't screw up too badly. Catherine visited often, making up for lost time. She and Emma became co-conspirators, ganging up on Victoria about everything from baby clothes to bedtime routines. At work, Victoria continued pushing her model of compassionate business. It wasn't always popular. Some investors complained. Competitors called her soft. But the company kept growing, kept innovating, kept proving that caring about people didn't mean sacrificing success. She gave talks now, at business schools and conferences, about redefining success, about the myth of having it all, about how she'd almost destroyed herself trying to be someone she wasn't. The question isn't whether you can balance career and family, she told a room full of MBA students. The question is what kind of life you actually want to live, because you can have success without happiness. I did for years. But once I figured out what actually mattered to me, everything else fell into place. Not perfectly, not easily, but truthfully. A student raised her hand. Don't you worry people will see you as weak? Admitting you prioritize family? Some people do see me as weak. They're entitled to their opinion. Victoria smiled. But I've learned that the people who matter don't see vulnerability as weakness. They see it as honesty. And I'd rather be honestly imperfect than perfectly fake. On Sarah's first birthday, they had a party at the park. Simple celebration. Cake, balloons, Emma running around with her friends while baby Sarah smashed frosting everywhere. Victoria stood watching her family, feeling Marcus appear beside her. This is very different from your life a year ago, he observed. Understatement. Are you happy? Victoria looked at Lucas wiping frosting off Sarah's face while Emma photobombed in the background, at her mother laughing at something one of Emma's friends said, at this chaotic, imperfect, absolutely beautiful mess. Yeah, she said. I really am. Good. You deserve it. Marcus paused. For what it's worth, I think your father would have come around eventually, seeing that your way works. Maybe. Or maybe he would have fought me until his last breath. Victoria smiled. Either way, I stopped needing his approval. That's what matters. That evening, after everyone left and both girls were asleep, Victoria and Lucas sat on their small balcony. The city stretched out before them, lights twinkling in the darkness. Do you ever miss it? Lucas asked. The penthouse, the power, the old life? Victoria thought about it honestly. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. Everything was clear, work was work, life was work, no messy emotions or complicated relationships. But I wouldn't go back, not for anything. She took his hand. I'd rather have complicated and real than simple and empty. Even when real means changing diapers at 2 a.m? Even then. Lucas pulled her close. I love you, Victoria Sinclair Bennett. She'd kept both names professionally, Sinclair for the company, Bennett for everything else. A compromise that felt right. I love you too, even though you still make terrible coffee. Some things never change. Good, I'm counting on it. They sat in the warm spring air listening to the city hum below. Inside, their daughters slept peacefully. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, work deadlines, toddler tantrums, the endless juggling act of building a life that felt true. But tonight, Victoria Sinclair Bennett was exactly where she belonged. Not because it was perfect, not because she'd figured everything out, but because she'd finally stopped running from the messy, terrifying, absolutely essential work of being human. And that made all the difference.